Hey, everybody out there in Cryptid Land. Me and my buddy Dirty over there are going to bring you a great interview with Russ Kellett from England, our first overseas interview. And we're going to be talking about aliens, UFOs, and a straight up abduction. And he's been abducted more than once. So come join us tonight for this journey on
The Cryptid Quest Podcast.
welcome to the show, Russ. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Thank you, Patrick. My name's Russ Kellett. I am originally from Bradford, West Yorkshire, and that is basically where you could say my story started. The back streets of Kensington Street. Come from a working class family, and very industrialised. My dad were a carpet weaver. My mum were a cook, and we lived, like in these long, like townhouses, and we had a backyard, and next to that there was what do you call them? Like a back street. So what do you call them?
Terrace?
Yeah, but down back street.
Back street.
Back street where we used to, where dustbins used to come up, and we used to be able to sort of like play football. We weren't supposed to, but you could play football in back streets and what have you. And the front was the main road and what have you. And that's where, like I say, I'd seen a ghost there when I was really young.
A ghost?
Yeah, well, it was like a witch, really. When I say witch ghost, it's at top of the stairs when I was, really young, and
So go ahead and you know what? Hey, we do everything here. I know your experience was an alien abduction, but
that's right. Oh, yeah, that came later.
Oh, let's hear about the witch first. That's intriguing me.
Well, I've been messing about upstairs, and I was told to come downstairs. I was only young, about 4, I think. And eventually, I think I'd been upstairs looking for Christmas presents, because we knew where Santa Claus used to keep the Christmas presents. We knew he'd stash a few later on,
Yeah.
just in case he didn't make it next year.
Yeah.
So I might get to us in time, but there'd be presents already waiting for us for next year, if you know what I mean. At least that's what I was surmising, because there were always these Christmas presents up in my grandma and granddad's bedroom. I'd been nosying, sort of like looking, and sort of like got told, get down here. Now, what happened was, when I was going out, there was like, I can only describe it as like a spaceman with an helmet on, walking forwards through the gate into the backyard, and I thought to myself, as I'm going down, looking through this big window, and there's this big silver, and I'm thinking, it's a dustbin man, And I'm thinking, why has he got an helmet on? And I sort of like waved, and he put his hand up. I'm sure he put his hand up. This is a long time. This is like, I must have been about 4-year-old, 4 or 5 years old. And my grandma is shouting at me, come on, what are you doing upstairs? What are you doing? And I said, I'm in the bathroom, and sort of like, come on next door, in their bedroom, like looking for these Christmas presents and what have you. And it just sort of like went backwards. And I'm shouting, yeah, I'm coming, sort of like down to my mum and my grandma. And then he was sort of like right behind, going behind this, what was a silver, and I couldn't tell what it was really. And he'd gone behind it, and it started juddering from side to side like that, and then going up,
Kind of like vibrating or something.
vibrating, like
Okay.
that,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
going up. And I'm sort of like, wow. So it had gone, and I'm looking, and sort of like, and there were big windows. So I mean, I didn't have to look too hard, because I was only about 4-year-old looking, and the massive windows. And I couldn't see anything, so I went into the bathroom where I was supposed to be going in the first place, and went to the toilet, washed my hands, and that's when my mum, and I'll get down here, and my grandma, come on, and she says, what he'll be doing? He'll be looking for Christmas presents, Oh, me, no. More like my sister, but anyway. So that was one of the first things that had happened, which was, I would say, rather strange. Sort of like an encounter with something which was like, what was it exactly? Sort of like, even to this day, I sort of like think, well, I wonder what it was.
So you're not even 100% sure if that was a ghost or possibly an alien, or you just have no
Well,
idea. You just remember a strange experience.
it wasn't the types of aliens I met later on. It was something totally different, like I say, well, like it was more or less like sort of like you've seen the Apollo landings and astronauts,
Uh-huh.
a little bit like that sort of thing, And I'm thinking, never liked that room. I never really liked that room, Sort of. And I tried to keep out of there, Always, and if I'd been in there, I had bad dreams, sort of like. Anyway, so that's one of the first things that happened. And
Okay.
anyway, I went downstairs, and like I think I got my leg slapped. Like, come on, you're not supposed to be up there, and sort of like, and what have you been doing? Looking for Christmas presents. No. And she said, I bet you know what you're getting for Christmas, don't you? No.
Man, oh man, you only got your leg slapped?
Yeah.
Oh, I got a lot
But
worse slapped on me when I was a kid.
I, I, I thought I was going to be getting a donkey because I was told that I'd be getting a bag of manure for Christmas. There'll be a bag of manure waiting. So I think, that means I must be getting a donkey or a pony then. I think that's what you get when you're being a bad boy,
Well, yeah,
you know.
because I heard they used to do coal, but it's worth way too much anymore. So,
Oh
can't.
yeah, we always still do. That's our tradition. You get what is it? Pennies. You got pennies
Yes.
and sixpence. So you had to have like pennies and silver. It's something to do with like Christian, like silver because of Judas and what have you, and the nails copper, like, and then you got an orange. We used to get. We were some people, some kids where didn't have oranges and apples. They couldn't. The parents couldn't afford them. We were pretty lucky to have tangerines.
Yes.
We're pretty lucky. You know what I mean?
Nuts.
And nuts, yeah, definitely nuts.
Nuts.
Anyway, so you'd have those on your fireplace,
Yeah.
and yeah, so that was our tradition.
Well, that's
I
cool.
think it's northern. It's like because we're from the north of England, we're sort of like Norse. My family is sort of like Norse Vikings, and on
Vikings.
my
Heck yeah.
my dad's side, they're not us. But that's a Viking name, isn't it? My dad's name, they're Viking as well, supposed to be. But my mum's side, there you can tell the Vikings because of his lips and his nose and his lips, and they're all like 6 foot. You know what I
Oh
mean?
wow.
Sort of like, you know. But you know, some they're one of quite his lot. I mean, to be quite honest, they were very well spoken blokes. Never heard them cursing, not like me. Never fight, but then again, their religion, they were what were they?
Quakers.
Quakers. They were Quakers. So you know, and seriously, you know, you never heard them swear or anything. And I mean, they were
I,
massive. You know what I mean? Never swore. Never didn't want to fight. No, you don't fight. No, and I was taught you don't fight no matter what happens.
man, oh man,
So
that just crushed my whole theory about Vikings or vision of them because I thought they were like just bloodthirsty, cursing, gonna do wrong every chance they get. Well, you just crushed it all.
oh dear. So
So,
anyway, so this is a northern sort of like, you know, where I come from. This you know, like my dad were a carpet weaver, and
a carpet weaver?
they were a carpet weaver. Yeah, a
Yes.
big industrial carpet place.
Okay.
You'd taken over by Americans. Americans took it over. Associated Weavers. This is in '70s. Now that were a strange thing because my dad went on his break, and this is what really started me off as well. Well, that well, my dad came in from work, and he'd been working nights, and my mum had his breakfast ready for him, which is like his dinner, tea sort of thing, and because they were working late shift. And what had happened? They were on a tea break at about 2 o'clock in the morning, and he was stood talking to his friend, and he had his back to rest up workmates that were out on break, and he had three brothers that worked with him, and they were talking with their mates, stood behind my dad. And my dad's looking in the opposite direction, talking to his friends, and my dad's friend were like looking up in air like that, and sort of like there's a bit of shouting going on. And my dad said, you know, what's that? He says, and he said, what's going on? He says, oh, you've missed it, Jim. You've missed it. And he said, well, what? And he said, a UFO. And he said, how do you mean? He said, if you'd have just, you know, turned around and looked just 5 seconds before, he said, this UFO went into clouds over there. He said it might come out. So they were looking and come on, we're going to have to get in now. You know, breaks over sort of thing. And they were looking for this. And what it was, they were like a torpedo. They said it looked like a torpedo.
A torpedo? Kind
Yeah.
of like the one on my shirt? Can you see it?
Yeah, a bit without the
Top to
cockpit at the
top?
top.
I got you.
Just
Kind of like
just
a cigar. I've heard them
yeah,
called cigar shaped.
cigars, torpedoes, yeah. So when he came in, and he used to bring magazines, you know, sort of like from shop, and he'd go get his cigs and come home, you know, like, and on his way, you know, off at bus down the road and what have you. And I'd have it might be sort of like a Batman comic or you know whatever. And his friend at work, they used to have you know sort of like paranormal books, and they used to swap, you know, these books and what have you. And so after he'd seen that, and he was telling them, and he said, "Oh yeah, Russ," he says, "it were like this like torpedo or cigar shaped object." He says, and it went in. He said, "But I missed it." He said, "But your uncle, ask your uncle about it. You know, your uncle Mike and what have you." So I think what happened was that he actually joined a group in England after he'd seen it because he was so interested, you know. But my dad were buying like magazines. The magazines then you could only get from America, and there weren't many either,
Yeah.
So I mean, this is going back to 70s, early 70s, So again, that sort of like got me interested, sort of like in UFOs and what have you. And then I remember my sister were with us as well when this happened, where we was all playing out, like it's what you call, the fall.
Hmm.
We had as 6 weeks. No, is it the fall? It's 6 weeks holiday anyway. It's a break when you sort of like you break up for holidays like for 6 weeks.
Gotcha.
And I think it'll be actually summer holidays, isn't it? It's summer
Yes.
holidays. So most of us, sort of like sort of like just staying around where we lived, like you might go for an holiday for a day or two, but we didn't have the money. You heard about people going to Spain, like it was the big thing in 70s. Well, wow, I don't know that many people that went to Spain back then. You know what I
No.
mean? Do you?
No.
Because we'd go to Morecambe on coast for a day, or other coast, Blackpool. If you're lucky for a day, and have fish and chips. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sort of like, and sort of like run about making sand castles and what have you, and keeping yourself occupied as you do. So, while all that lot's going on, holidays and what have you, we used to have to entertain ourselves if we're not, going away for a day or two. So we'd be playing, sort of like football. If we weren't playing football, we'd be playing tennis or trying to play tennis. A bit hard when you've got a road going a bit like that downhill, you know what I mean? Sort of, But so we'd be playing hide and seek. And it was on this day when we were playing hide and seek, or tin can squat, actually. It's a bit like hide and seek.
What
So
was
there's
that?
about 20 of us.
Sit and squatch?
Tin can squat.
Oh, okay. I totally misunderstood that.
Have you ever heard of it? Tin can squat. It's
No.
like it's like hide and seek, but what you have originally, obviously, you had three tin cans, like on a triangle. Two there and one on top. And what happened was, you had them like that, and then when you're all, he closed his eyes or she closed her eyes, and then came looking for you. So when you got caught, you came up and you sat near these tin cans outside, So you'd be looking, and if you saw it, because you're hiding, it's like hide and seek. So you go back up and you'd say, like, Russ, I would always caught the first. I'm too big to hide, you know what I mean? So I would always the first caught, or I'd be, if it wasn't too big to hide, it was a case of I always be, sticking my head out and looking, you know what I mean? Because I'm nosy, you know what I mean? And it was this day when I'd been caught, usually at first. So I'd been caught and I was back at the top near tins. So what happens next is that I'm sat because I've been caught and I'm looking up in the sky. And I'm thinking, what's that? And I'm looking and it's a UFO. So I'm shouting, hey, look, there's a UFO up there. Look, And my sister, I think no, that's the time after actually. Anyway, so I'm shouting, like, look, there's a UFO and pointing, and there's, my mates are all hid, and you can hear them shouting, shut up, you're trying to get us caught. You know what I mean? Sort of like, just because you've been caught, don't mean they say we want to be caught. I'm saying, no, look, seriously, there's a UFO. And it were a bright white object. Well, it were white and red, white, red, white, red, segments. It were like alternative. It were every white and red and white and red and white all the way around.
And how was it shaped?
It was really big. A circle.
Oh, circle.
It was round.
Okay. Oh, wow.
And it was moving from the left to the right over these houses where my friend used to come and stay with his auntie and uncle above their house and going along. And I'm saying, look, so by this time, the street is full of all my mates and what have you. There's lads and lasses, and everybody's in awe at this object. And, one of his friends who were a bit brainy, you always get them, don't you? Brain boxes. And sort of like, oh, no, it's definitely not a UFO. He says, it's a balloon. It's obvious it's a balloon. What kind of balloon? And he said, well, it's a balloon with,
Let me guess, Mylar.
What do you call it? No, it was just what do you call it? You have a basket underneath and what have you.
Oh, hot air balloon.
Hot air balloon. And so I said to him, well, there's only one problem with that. And I says, look how big it is. I said, where's the basket with people in? Underneath, I said, there's no basket there. And everybody's saying, yeah, you're right. They're in. They're telling him, they're in the basket. Oh, well, it must be a weather balloon, like you say, and it's, what, that big? It's so low down. Weather balloons go, to quite so many thousand feet up before they burst and what have you. So why would it be so low down? It's dangerous, that. So we're all there, sort of. Anyway, the rest of them started running because it's past us and it's gone into next road and what have you. So I run, I was last one behind as usual, and sort of like by the time I got across, I'm waiting for the being one or two cars after they'd got across. So I runs over. By the time I got over the other side and going on top of the road, they were coming back, and I says, "Where's it gone?" And they said, "Oh, it went behind some clouds. It's gone. So it were all sat, and we sat down there when we got back. And we must have been talking for an hour just about what it could be and what have you. And one of my friends, he turned around and he says, we're going to have to call it something or call where we saw it something. Well, when I'd been sat down, because I was first caught, there were a nail sticking up out of the ground, where there'd been originally a garage, and it had been pulled down and knocked down, and there was still a nail sticking out of ground, sort of like, and I was messing about, and that's when I was playing with this nail in ground and looking up, and that's when I saw the object, So I said to him, well, why not call it nail point? Because there's a nail here where I first saw it, and shouted, look, So it says, yeah, we'd call it. So when we were doing stuff or whatever, we'd say we'll meet at nail point. So, that's what we did. We always did. We always met at nail point, which really, it were only top of his back street, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So then, again, after that, there weren't as many people. This is a few years later, and sort of like, like we're getting older now, and so there's, not as many people around and what have you. But there were one or two of us, and I saw this UFO again, and my sister was in back garden, and I shouted over to her, and I shouts, Jill, look, the UFO, tell me mum, go tell me mum, look. Anyway, so this object, I think it was like, if I remember rightly now, like a silver ball in sky, and it was moving pretty slow. And anyway, by the time my mum came out, my sister found my mum in the house, and Russ says, look, come and have a look at this. There's a big time she got out.
It had gone. It was too late.
I wasn't popular, was I?
No, not
No,
at all.
not still not. But anyway, yeah, so my sister remembers it, sort of like.
I remember.
So she'd seen it only, but she run in to tell me, oh yeah, there's.
And that one was silver?
Like, I tell you, like a silver ball bearing, massive.
Oh wow!
Silver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
I only describe it as like silver ball bearing.
When you say you're in northern England, correct?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard so many stories about, and then not just from people I talk to, but like on television and everything. And it seems like a lot of that happens way up north. And I wonder if maybe because it's less populated, or is it no?
Very industrialized. Very industrialized.
Okay.
Is Bradford, but after you've said that, really, what starts happening is when you go to the northern part of the city, then you start getting to the outskirts where it's like farms, and then there's a few abbeys and castles and stuff, and Skipton, there's a little castle at Skipton and what have you. So yeah, it is very open in some places. I filmed back in 2000. I filmed something. It's pretty famous called the Flying Man. On me, this is something else. I'm just having to get put right again. On my new website, I was making a website, and somebody, like I said, hacked my computer, and so it should be up and probably be up and running now after New Year. But there'll be some images up. I'll be putting some more video images up and what have you.
Oh, very cool.
And there's one called the Flying Man, and everybody looks at it. Oh, it's a flying man. It looks like a man with a jetpack.
Oh wow! I've heard of that too, but wow! And you actually caught that on video?
Yeah, in 2000 before anybody.
Oh wow!
But that isn't what I saw. That isn't what I saw because I was with my friend Tony, who passed away a couple of years ago, and I was outside his house, and I was getting some. What were I doing now? I'd called because he'd been telling me about what he'd been seeing at this place called Queensbury. And I said, yeah. I said, we're getting a lot of people calling because I had a hotline, I had a UFO hotline back then on my mobile. And this is when mobiles were pretty new, sort of like. And so we had hotline numbers. We had his car with his number on the car and what have you. People used to call us. So I was there, and there was, I forgot, I was looking for, that was it. There was a new, like, we had a telescope and what have you, and we'd got some bits and pieces, and I had this new video camera. A Sony video camera, which it did night vision filming.
Oh wow, that's
now,
cool.
That was pretty. This is going back now to 1990 and 2000. You know what I mean?
That's new technology back then.
Yeah. So I got it from this catalogue. My mum had this catalogue what she run. And I was working, so I said, Mum, I said, can I buy this out of the catalogue? She said, it's a lot of money. And she said, are you going to, you know what I mean? She says, you're going to have to save your pennies for that, you know what I mean? And so I'm like, well, I don't drink. I never have drank or anything, you know. Sort of only vice I had was my motorbike, my chopper, you know, sort of like, and I used to spend money on that like water. And so she said, you know, like, and I said, yeah, if you know, yeah. So I got this camera, and it was unbelievable. So, like I say, I had night vision capacity on. You didn't have to mess about. You just switched it on night vision, and that was it. You know what I mean? And it worked. And did it work? So I went up and I was showing, you know, like Tony, I was showing him my new camera. And he says, I've got one. Well, his was twice as good as mine.
Oh no.
I am not joking.
Yeah.
He had the one, and sort of like mine was something like 75 zoom, but it wasn't digital, it was optical zoom. And never bother with any of this digital zoom because all it is, it just blows up and digitizes and it pixelates. What you want is optical zoom. You know what I mean? You must get optical zoom. And he had something like, I think it was 140. You know what I mean? So like double what mine was, you know. And mine was pretty good. And I bought a 2x lens and it fit on. So it took it up to 140, you know what I mean? You know. And it was amazing. It was really good. So I'm talking to him and I'm saying in car and sort of like, and I looked over and what I'd done, I'd put in the back of the car as well. I had this, what do you call it? It was the military. It told you where you are. You know, it was unbelievable. And it tells you exactly where you are.
Kind of like a GPS locator or something.
A GPS system.
Yeah.
I think it was Garmin. I think it was Garmin, like military. It was
Okay.
like a military.
Yep, Garmin.
And I'm telling him, I'm saying to him, and I turned it on, and I said, it says that there's 9 objects, you know, like in atmosphere, you know, above. And I looks up and sort of like, Tony, I'm shouting. And I didn't have to shout and tell, have you seen that? He's there looking and he's got his binoculars. And I shout, right. I said, I'm getting my camera. So I'm back at car opens again, puts that back in and sort of like gets the camera out and it's just above now. And it's just going away from us. And I just catch it as it's going and it's coming down. And I says, do you think, I said, is that landing? And he goes, I think so. And we still think, you know, that it landed. And everybody that's seen it says, you know, like it's a flying man. Some people call it the ejector seat. If you put up Russell Kellett on YouTube and put flying man, you know, you'll see it. And everybody, and I mean, like, now a bit of a controversy about this because somebody was supposed to be in the know. I was supposed to be on television with that. And this blat turned around and had said to somebody at the station, the TV station, that it were an hang glider.
Hang glider?
Yeah.
No way.
We'd seen it. We'd both seen it, and we were no hang glider.
No.
No hang glider.
And what was
But
this?
the person,
This is at nighttime, correct?
Daytime.
Oh, daytime.
This is what
Oh,
I'm
okay.
saying. We didn't even need to. I didn't even need to switch night vision on.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Because
You're saying that you guys were out, you caught this during the daytime, um, on
I were
film.
outside of his house because he'd been seeing stuff. I told me, and it was unbelievable. The stuff what he'd seen, and his neighbours had reported as well. And he lived at this little cottage and had a good view, and it was very, very near where this object must have come down. Then we had it was what was it now? I think it was UN, a Chinook helicopter with white Chinook helicopter with UN had landed in one of the fields, and this is just after that landed.
Oh, wow. That's
Sort of like I'd gone back. I'd gone back home and what have you. I think I don't know. I'm just thinking what it. The next day it landed, I think, in this field, and sort of like a lot of people were talking about this, and then of course we had something else that were a bit odd that happened. When I was going home, I had missing time. When I was at his house after this happened, when I videoed this flying man, call it what you want, I can't remember. I'd got home and it was late, and it was a lot later than it should have been. It
that
were a little bit.
that happens a lot with aliens. It seems like a lot of people, whether they've been picked up or not, the time seems to like
Oh yeah,
distort.
yeah. It is Oz factor as well. It's like it's a very strange the sound, and it's odd. But what I was going to say was that so sort of like he couldn't believe it, sort of like, and he was saying, that is brilliant. That because we sat and looked at the film, sort of like reviewed it, and we put it on his telly, and he's saying, well, what the hell, Russ? He says, what do you think it is? What was it? And I said, well, when he went over it, well, this odd like triangle, like when it over, it was like a triangle, sort of like two triangles in one, sort of like facing the same way. It was, but when I say that, it was like, I don't know, something seemed to happen when I looked at it. I can't explain. I looked at it and sort of like my head went a bit funny, really, and I'm thinking to myself, what the heck's that, And that's when I says to him, look, have you seen that? And I could tell he'd got binoculars, and I went and got my camera out, sort of like. And like the funny thing, like I say, is that he had a better camera, and he will. And I says to him, "Why are you filming it?" But by that time, sort of like. In fact, I don't even. I said, "Why didn't you film it?" Actually, because it all happened so fast. I said, you got your camera outside here. Oh, I wanted a better look. So he had these big, like naval binoculars. You know what I mean? Well, the problem is when they're so big, and you've got to have them on a tripod, really, because the slightest judder or movement, you just lose the object.
Yeah.
I know myself. I had some German ones, fantastic, but You know, you had to have them on the stand, otherwise it was just no good, you know.
Yeah.
But that area at Queensbury, what a strange place. What a strange place. Because they'd been reporting all sorts of stuff. There'd been big cats seen around there. There'd
The
been,
ABCs.
yeah, you know, cryptos. There'd been sort of like really strange creatures,
Yeah, I
you
hear
know.
I hear a lot of crazy things about that that area and all the you guys got
Listen to this. Listen to this. This is
I'll
one
give
of
it
the
to me.
strangest. Was that his neighbour turned around and knocked on the door and said he's Russell. And he says, yeah, we thought he was. Because they all knew, you know, car were parked and, you know, sort of like you seen video cameras and what have you, because we used to film with TV and stuff and production companies until I got poorly, you know what I mean? Got a bit ill and couldn't be bothered. And they says, well, can we have a word with him? We've got something to tell him. And he said, I know what you're going to tell him. He said, I am. He said, well, I did forget to tell him, really. So he said, I know what you're going to tell him. So they said, yeah. He said, go on and tell him. So I knew who they were. I said, all right, how are you doing? So we're having a coffee, like, and he says, you know what we saw last night again? And I said, no, what? And he says, a pterodactyl. Yeah. I said, a pterodactyl. I said, we've seen a pterodactyl
I've
again.
I've had two pterodactyl stories in the last couple months, and now you're
Really?
giving me another one. Yes, actually, and this is weird. This has not been aired yet. My sister said she just saw one not long ago, and she's an outdoors woman, and she knows her
Yeah.
birds and everything. She
Yeah.
said it scared off a bunch of vultures when it flew in, and she said it had
Yeah.
no tail. She said it was way bigger than anything she's ever seen.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so wow, that's so cool. That is so cool. Scary
Yeah.
but cool. So a
Oh,
pterodactyl they saw. They said it was
yeah.
silver, or did
Um,
I get that wrong?
no. They didn't say what colour it was.
Oh, okay.
Um, they just said a pterodactyl, and I was sort of like taken back. And I did say to them, can you fill in a report, report form? I says, like, and I give them a report form. And, sometimes people will tell you, but they don't like to write stuff down. I mean, I still send report forms out. We've got a report form, or it's going to be on his new website, where you can just report. But it's like when you get a report form through post, and I usually send them. Sort of like I'll send what do you call it? A letter out, and I've got an envelope inside, which is stamped addressed envelope back to myself
Got
for
you.
them to put the little sort of like report form back inside to send back to me, and to get, like I've got a load of report forms, and I've got report forms going back from, I'm in a group, oldest group, UFO group, Flying Saucer Bureau. I the gentleman passed away, and I took over, sort of like before he passed away. So I'm still sort of like the head of Flying Saucer Bureau, and it's the oldest going UFO group in the world.
Oh wow, wow.
You know, but I haven't been doing a great deal because I've been messing about with motorbikes and stuff because I was just getting too, it's like you get up and every day, sort of like it's a subject, UFOs, what I mean, paranormal, cryptos, what I mean, sort of like, and that's all I've been doing for like, sort of like 30 years. And I was getting to the point where, sort of like, I just wanted to do something a bit different. So I've got a chopper which I'm supposed to be building up. I'll never get it built. So I've got another bike, and then sort of like I had bad news that I have to have 4 operations. So like I'm crippled, in pain, riding it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
my holiday, sort of like, and my summer of going out on my bike was short lived because I think I was in bed constant for about nearly 4 weeks. I couldn't
Yes, yeah.
I couldn't get off my bike.
Oh wow.
I was stuck, in pain. So I thought, anyway, so I'd really fallen out with the subject as well and people in it because just getting, like just silly comments and stuff, emails and messing about and I'm thinking I'm getting too old for this.
Yeah.
I'd rather be out on my bike, if you know what I mean,
Yeah.
But anyway, so I decided I'm going to set a new what do you call it up a new website and what have you, and put some video footage up and photographs. Some pretty good stuff. That well, I think it's pretty good things that I've caught and. From going out and filming daytime, nighttime, and I do use some CCTV footage, but when you've got something like a fixed camera lens and what have you, not the best thing to have, really. You know what I mean? They're okay, but it's not like getting out there and filming, seeing something for yourself.
Oh yeah. It's a huge
And
difference.
oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm going to have to start doing that again. But like I said, at the moment, I'm crippled in a
Yeah.
lot of pain. And sort of like this weather, sort of like has really, really, sort of like made it worse, So, but I'll be back out, hopefully. Like when
You
weather
get
gets.
back out there. You got the fire. You'll be back out there.
But yeah, so, and then, of course, I mean, so this has been going on, and all the time, like I'm looking at investigating. There's a real reason why I'm investigating, and that is because of something that's happened to me. And sort of like it started, and like, and it hasn't happened now for a number of years, but being abducted and put into a military unit, and we've been basically fighting. Sort of like you name it, the different races of aliens. But what you'll find, and you'll find this, and sort of like I always wonder when people talk about how great it is being abducted. You'll hear people say, "Oh yeah, like it's fantastic," and all this lot, and I didn't have that. I found it. I mean, at first year, people saying, "Oh, we were scared, and this happened, that happened," and then they've come to terms with it. Well, I suppose, yeah, in a way, you do come to terms with it. We had to come to terms with it because we had nothing else that we could do.
So,
Sort of like.
so what exactly happened when you were what do you remember from it?
Well, they were always around the same area, and other areas as well, but on my motorbike and going up this road. And what happens is that in front of us appears this, what you can only describe as like a tunnel, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking, well, this, and I'm slowing down, thinking,
Like a tunnel of light or a dark tunnel or
well, yeah, a sort of like dark tunnel. It's light around, and then
okay.
obviously you can see light inside, so it's lit up a bit. It's dark, but it's lit up
I got
as
you.
if you can go through it. You know, like a tunnel. You know, like when you're going through a tunnel. You know, like maybe in a mountain and what have you.
Correct.
You know, like and you're going through and you come out and so the tunnel through. Channel tunnel, same thing. You know, like go
Got
through
you.
a tunnel and what have you. And you get tunnels which are like usually they're like in a way I think they're like either bridges or the beam bridges or have water go on the top part and what have you. So there's this just tunnel going through, you know, sort of like other side of a mountain range. So, and I'm thinking to myself, this hasn't been here before. Well, you know, how can anyone here? The thing about it was that the night before, the day before, I'd gone down the same road. And I'm thinking, how's it possible that I came this way last night and it wasn't here? And it was so big, it was from one side of the road to the other. And I'm thinking, you know, it would have taken a long time. You know, it would have taken a long time for them to, you know, build this, put it together. And it's here, you know what I mean? And how come? And I'm thinking to myself, the other thing as well, I'm thinking, well, why don't it say anything on it? You know what I mean? It's like, you know, sort of like really, really strange. Anyway, so I'm being pulled into it. And next thing, I'm in this room and sort of like, I'm looking around and I'm laid back in this chair, like a what do you call it? Dentist chair. I
Dentist
have a
chair.
phobia. I have a phobia of dentists, you know, sort of like with this. And sort of like I'm there and I'm thinking to myself, and then I had my head shoved forward and this like injection in the back of my neck. And then I had this thing put on, like an helmet, you know, and a tube went into my mouth, you know, down my throat sort of thing, and it slid over. And I'm panicking, you know what I mean? I'm panicking. And there's like a voice, and it's sort of like, don't worry. I'm thinking, I'm worrying. You know, I'm worrying. Don't worry. I'm thinking, everything's okay. And basically, I'm shown lots of different images just in my head, just like, you know, like like that, you know, like one after another, all sorts of different pictures, images, you know, and sort of really odd, and different places around the world and what have you, and sort of like people and situations and stuff. And then the next thing, I'm back on my motorbike. And I'm sat on my motorbike and I'm almost falling off because I'm going that slow. And sort of like, you know, I have to put my throttle back. And I did it and I was going around this corner and I had to put and I nearly went over the into the corner rather than round the corner. Anyway, so I'm thinking to myself, don't look back. You know what I mean? I'm thinking, do not look back. But I just had to, sort of like, just, what was that about? And there was nothing there. And I'm getting a bit worried now. I'm thinking, something not right there. What were all that about? But I get home, and usually lights, house lights are on and what have you, and there's somebody always about, sort of like, because we went to bed late, but not too late because we were working morning, And I remember, sort of like coming in, and my mum said, "What did we tell you?" Sort of like, what time do you call this? You know what I mean? And my grandma, you leave him alone, So what time do you call this? I said, well, I don't know. Don't be so damn cheeky, you don't know. I said, well, I don't know. And where have you been? I said, oh. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't know what to say here. Because they're not going to believe, are they going to believe this?
Oh, no.
No, I don't think so. So, I'm getting it when I'm getting, 8 o'clock, you start work at 8 in the morning. And she said, we do. And she says, and we're up here, 2 o'clock in the morning, she says. 2 o'clock in the morning? You're joking. 2 o'clock in the morning. She said, you were out at, she said, you couldn't wait to get out on that damn motorbike. She said, you had your tea and you were straight off. You didn't say where you were going or out. She says, what have you been doing? Who have you been with? I said, I haven't been with anybody. Sort of like. And she said, well, where have you been all that time riding around? And I said, I run out of petrol. I said, did you? I said, yeah, I run out of petrol. I said, I had to push bike. And I says, it took us ages. I hadn't, obviously. I'm sort of like telling lies, So that ain't good, is it? Anyway, so I thought to myself, you better not tell her. You tell her, you know what I mean, that you've been in this chair and this helmet put on and you've seen all these things. And the worst part about it, in this room where the chair is, right, yeah, I forgot to say that there's these shapes walking around, right, yeah. And sort of like, and I can feel these things walking around. But yeah, it doesn't tally because these things are up here, sort of like, and there's, and so I sort of like looked up like that. And I wished I hadn't when I seen someone looking at me. And it was like, Nosferatu, the
Yeah.
Dracula.
Yes. That's what they
Yeah.
look like?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no.
Oh, hell yeah. And I'm sort of like, and I'm sure that my heart skipped a beat, sort of like, I could not believe it. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, I'm a goner, you know what I mean? I'm thinking to myself, they're going to eat me, something like that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that'd be scary as
So,
hell.
oh, hell yeah, to say the least.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, but one of them who I seem to get on with, and he's always about, and could call him Joe. So, sort of like he puts up with me, tolerates me because I say stuff sometimes, like when I when I was talking to another abductee in this unit, like, and I gives it. I'd said, sort of like, I'd been a bit rude. I said, I won't swear, but monsters, you know what I mean? Like monsters. And he's going, and I'm saying, don't say anything. And I said to him, I called him, this lad that I'd met in this unit, what I were in, call him Judas, They used to call me big guy, and I used to call him Judas, and he goes, I've heard that before. I've heard that before. Russ. And he says, "Don't say it," and I gives it the telepathic, aren't they? He gives it, yeah. You know what I mean? That's something you don't want to be doing, talking about them, sort of like, because they know what you're saying, I mean, they're telepathic.
Yeah, you're
So,
thinking it, they know it.
oh, yeah, yeah. Oh, no. I'm thinking, now, aren't you nice people? You know what I mean? Sort of like, liar. Sort of like, but yeah, but this is the introduction to how it first happened, and it sort of like, happened again and again, sort of like same scenario, more or less, out on my bike. And it was the same kind of scenario where I ended up, again, going down the tunnel. There's once or twice it didn't happen that way, and I ended up again inside this room, and then ending up in this room with like a checkered board floor. And then in that checkered board floor, it's like circular. There's their, what you can call their apparatus, which is their machine, whoever you want to call it, time machine or whatever, which takes us from A to B.
Like a portal?
Well, what it is, so, and it's funny because somebody from, I'm in an order called Knights Templars, and I was introduced to somebody else who is sort of like a Knights Templar, but in a different order, in a, what you call a men's club, whatever. And they've got Knights Templars in their association. And I'd seen some drawings of like where they're sort of like old meetings and rituals and stuff. And it's so much like this area where it's a checkerboard floor. There's these two things that come out of the ground from one side, the other side, that go up like pillars. And on top of the pillars are these two, can only describe them as, like, what do you call it? Like crystal balls.
Okay, got you.
And as they come out of the ground and as they're going up, you can see the power going up these pillars and going into the crystal ball type objects. And it's all powered up. And what you do is, what originally, at the side of us, you put your hands over the top of these two balls, and then you're away, and you're at another place, wherever they want you to be. Now, when we use that, sort of like you can use it for one person, but there's bigger ones, on a bigger scale. So you just go in between these, so you don't have to touch. But originally, what we'd do is and we had a rifle with us. We had a life suit. This suit keeps us alive, and an helmet at first. We had an helmet, sort of like, and later on, we just had the life suit. We didn't need the helmet and what have you. And we had implants in his eyes and his ears and his nose. And I'm having a lot of problems with my right ear again. I always had at 15, I was at doctors and hospital, looking at having brain scans and scans on my ear. And basically what it is, it enables us we can see in night vision, we can hear, sort of like, and it must be a communications device, what they're putting.
So you have an implant.
Yeah.
Oh, well, and that's scary, man. I
Oh
mean,
hell yeah.
yeah. Um, so I mean, when you get abducted, are you worried that something bad's eventually going to happen to you, or do you think it's just a mundane checkup? Or I mean, do you know what
Oh
the
hell
purpose
yeah.
of it
Yeah.
is?
Well, the purpose what I had was because I was put into a military unit. With the rest, a lot of people like me from around the world, different countries. Sort of like I mean, I was in a mega unit,
Okay,
and there's Alpha, Delta unit. There's all the units, but I was in this unit, a mega unit. Now, most of the people that are abducted, that this you see, we're protecting this alien race, right? Yeah, um, and on their planet now, the people that actually are their protection from Earth, and the ones that protect them the best, their fighters are women,
hmm.
right? Yeah, because the women, what I found is that they're all, what do you call it? They've got psychic abilities and what have you. So they're chosen first because what they can do is they can actually basically feel when this alien race is around, like when they're gonna, it's like they can
Like Spidey
basically,
sense.
yeah. Now, what happens is as we basically go through time and go from one place to another, so they're their enemies. So this enemy that's trying to kill this race that we're fighting alongside for, um, they abduct the women from Earth because their sense, is so powerful that they can sense when these aliens are projecting themselves onto into their planet. Sort of like it's a bit like oh heck, oh, there's a name for it now. When like in Star Trek, when somebody, what do you call it? When they go and they're transported from
Oh,
one place to another, if you know what I mean.
beam me up.
Yeah,
Beam
what
me
do
up,
you call
Scotty.
it? It's in a way, it's a bit like that. Um, it's a bit how we travel as well, so that they can see a signature 15 minutes before it actually happens
Oh,
for
wow.
these things. So their psychic ability, they can sort of like sense, they can sense, sort of like their enemies before they get there. So and them females, they're all sort of like they're the sort of like guards, and you don't mess with them. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Um, I mean they've got life suits on. They're more stronger and more powerful, and they've got good weapons. They're the only ones allowed to carry weapons. The females around these areas in their city,
I got you.
sort of like apart from a mega unit, we can, because they're basically what you call we're telepaths. They're telepaths, and so are we. But that, like I say, there's more females that are telepaths than males. But I'm in a male unit, that are all telepaths. That's what a mega unit is. So we're a little bit different to the rest of them. I'm not saying, well, we're different, we're better or anything. But, that's what we have a T, on his uniform, and it's basically telepathic,
Okay.
telepath. And you know, the other thing is we can. There's two buttons that you can press, and you can turn this button at the top. And what it is, if you press it, just tap it and hold it in, you can actually walk through solid matter,
Oh wow.
and then you let it out, and you know you come back out. But once saw an accident, you got to be careful because you can actually. What you do is when you sort of like you press. What you do is you turn it and press it in,
Mm-hmm.
and that dial tells you how long you want to basically be invisible for. Because you're invisible also, but you can walk through matter. You see, so when you turn the dial and you press it in, basically it's a bit like an egg timer in a way. You know,
Yeah.
like you back out and you pop out, but somebody once popped out before they went through a wall, and they got stuck in the wall, and they were just killed. You know what I mean? Not a nice thing to see.
No, I would imagine not.
I mean, because they're fused into the wall, you know. So you got to be careful. But then again, in a battle situation, things happen, you know. But that's again, I always feel sick, you know, when I'm going from A to B, when we're being transported and what have you. I always feel sick, you know,
Oh, you get
sort of.
like a sick feeling to your stomach when you do that?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, all the time. You know, so when I disappear and appear again, you know, sort of like you always feel
Yeah.
like Ed for Heights, you know what I'm saying? I'm not going up there. Yes, you are. You know, why you've chosen somebody doesn't like water, doesn't like heights. Why the hell you'd want to take me? I just don't know.
Eh,
You know
well,
what I mean?
something about you that you don't know apparently. They know you don't know.
Well, yeah, this is it. Like I say, I'm hardly the candidate that I'd want on my side. You know what I mean?
So, have you heard anything about all the drones they've been uh, spotting here in the United States, like around New Jersey?
It's all over, is it? But they are gonna. I mean, sort of like I think in my book in E.T. Rider were talking about the one, and we didn't call them drones then. They were like you know, sort of like weaponized. I called them. I think it was weaponized model um, aircraft. You know, sort of like back then. You know, we didn't have the word drone,
Yeah.
and they didn't call them drones. Weaponized model aircraft. You know, sort of like you know. But yeah, I mean, but it's you're gonna get that, aren't you? It's like you know, it's somebody says, oh, somebody's wet, you know, somebody like say like 10 years ago. Oh, did you see how many people were all out and they were all sort of like using mobile phones and they were at a concert and sort of like they turned lights out and they said, can everybody get your mobile out and press, you know, on, and all of a sudden the arena just lights up with lights. You know what I mean? It's all lit up with all the lights off of the mobile phones. Well, it's the same thing in a way as these drones. I mean, I can't see anything, you know, sort of like, you know, sort of like a lot of people have drones. I know
Yeah.
that, you
These are
know,
different. I don't know if you guys are getting the info that I mean, there's a bunch of them. A bunch. Like they're seeing eyewitness counts like 50 a day, and they're supposedly the size of like small cars, SUVs, and they've been like showing up all over around like New Jersey, New York. I think they're starting to show up in California now, and they say when you spot them,
yeah,
they suddenly just disappear. And, and of course, the United States government's like, we don't know what the heck they are. But there's a couple rumors going around that maybe it's like either actual aliens, maybe, what do they call it? Project Bluebeam, I think is the name of it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. They're going to
So,
project these things and sort of like at the end of the world and what
yeah,
have you. And the thing is, it's like anything else. It's like the government aren't going to tell what they've got. The military aren't going to tell what they've got.
yeah.
They're going to be, of course, they're going to be messing around with stuff. And if they're making craft that are small and, sort of like maybe that's the next future car, sort of like, if you know what I mean, sort of like, I think somebody's already made one out
Yeah,
of,
they've actually talked about. I've heard about a company that's trying up in like I think New York, trying to come up with basically a drone like taxi service
that's it, yeah.
to
Well,
where you
I
could get
think,
in it, they fly, get you there,
yeah,
boom.
that's it.
I don't think it's
Somebody
launched
will tell
yet, but it's
Yeah, somebody told us, last year, somewhere in America, that somebody had a pizza delivered by drone.
oh, I believe it. I believe it. Yeah, they're heading down that path. They're heading down that path for sure.
You know,
And I don't know, but when I hear drones, I don't think alien though. I really don't. I would think
no, I know, technology, and I mean, it's not hard to see where the technology came from,
yeah,
because if you have a look, having said that, technology usually comes from war. All technology
yeah,
comes from war. Sort of like. And it's like when there's wars around and what have you, you need better technology to destroy that enemy. And if the enemy is good, you need better. So and that's it. It's a progression. It's always a progression, isn't it? Really,
oh,
of technology to get the upper hand and to win a war. Why they want to fight and kill each other? Because at the end of the day, they always sort of like say, right, okay, then we like we've beaten you and this, that, and the other, and then they'll go and strike a deal and whatever, shake hands, and sort of like, well, what was the point in getting all those poor people killed? Couldn't you have just sat down and talked about it and then shook hands over a deal? Is the point in people
yeah,
dying?
yeah.
You know
Technology
what I
is
mean?
just
It's like,
one more bigger step to make things more destructive. I mean, a
well, what it
lot of
is,
times,
it's like someone was saying. It's like, well, people in governments have money in different industries, usually arms and what have you, vaccines. That's another thing. If you can't kill them by bombs, kill them by vaccines.
there you go.
Oh, this will do you the world of good,
Yeah,
son. You
it's
take this.
way more humane that way.
Sort of like that. I think I'll give it a miss.
uh, oh
You
man. Well,
know,
yeah. No, I hear you. It's a crazy world we're living in, Russ.
but
So
I mean, the thing is, it's like. I mean, I've taken so many times, and it's the same thing. And I spoke about, sort of like, like meeting, and sort of like I've got to be careful because like certain countries and what have you, and where we'd been and what have you. And I was telling somebody on the show, we were sort of like in Eastern European, countries and what have you. And I told about a war that were going to take place, and sort of like, and this was about 2, 3, 4 years ago, I think now. Sort of like, and it's like nobody else had ever said anything about a war taking place with a certain big sort of like country and what have you. And now 5 years ago, I think it was on a show. we're talking about, oh yeah, we go to war, not that it's like, you know, it sort of like turns out where, they press the red button or not, but still a war, it's still with a big country, super power and stuff. Nobody's ever said it, like that was going to happen, apart from me, sort of like. And somebody was just saying, a couple of months ago when I'd actually spoken about it, and they said it's funny how all these super soldiers have been on, but they never told you anything like this, did they?
Huh.
Sort of like, when Russell were talking about this, and lo and behold, it happens. But, just one of those things. There's so many things that have happened. So many places that we've been, and sort of like, and the thing is, there's always other countries involved because there's me and this alien race, and then there's other people that have been abducted from other countries, and for certain that like each alien race, for certain that they must be helped in a way, not only by us, the abductees that have been taken and put into their units, but usually they must be friends with some country and another. This alien, say, this race is fighting another alien race. That alien race might be friends with somebody else in a different country. And then they might be fighting against this alien race, and they might be friends with another power, another country. And then there's another alien race that's fighting these lot, you know what I mean? And they've got backing of another country. So when it comes down to it, you might have maybe 30 different countries. So all those countries know what are going on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh
And
yeah. I
can you
got you.
imagine that? So it's like they're all saying, oh, we don't know about UFOs and aliens.
No, they
But
know.
you can bet your bottom dollar their countries are actually fighting alongside and their armies are. So that's the other thing. Different countries, armies will be fighting alongside as well, not only abductees.
That's
You know
that's
what I
why
mean?
I'm moving to a cave. I'm just gonna go underground. Heck with it all.
You're not the only one. You're not the only one. I've met preppers, for over the years. I met preppers that has already started.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's some
Sort of
scary
like,
things getting ready to happen in this world. I'm thinking, but
well, yeah, I mean, I've been listening to stories from people in America where they've had farms and the farms have been taken off of them by the government and what have you.
yeah,
Sort of like some people have had farms and they've had wells, and all of a sudden they don't have the right to the wells anymore for the livestock, and sort of like. And in one case, I think they actually blocked the well off before it got to their farm.
oh, holy
There are
cow,
all sorts of real odd things that have been going on. But like you say, yeah, with these drones, so many turning up. But you see, there's some, there's some mischievous people out there.
yeah, yeah,
And some people, I know that I've got a drone, and I know that they said, oh, like because it's 2 foot and what have you, you've got to take a test, and like I can't be bothered with that. I didn't get it to be tests and what have you. But when I sit down, realistically, I can understand it because you could cause havoc. You know what I mean?
oh
Sort
yeah,
of like you could cause havoc, really,
yeah,
especially in lanes, where there's aircraft lanes and what have you, sort of like, and you could cause some real, destruction and maybe injury and even worse. So in a way, you've got to think to yourself, well, yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah.
You know, takes all the fun out of being able to just take something up and have a look around and take some fantastic shots.
Well, you know what?
Drop circles and stuff also.
Send me a pizza with your drone and we'll be even. Hey Russ, I've had so much fun talking to you tonight, buddy. So, and earlier you were talking about a website you're setting up. Would you like to promote that?
What is it now? UFO-paranormal.com.
Okay. UFO.
It's UFO-paranormal.com.
Okay. I just want to put that out there for everybody on.
Like I say, it had been up and running, but somebody actors and what have you, and sort of like, oof, never mind.
No, you're good, man. What you got to say? Somebody what?
I'm just saying, you know, sort of like you spend, all your time trying to get stuff to, there'll be things like video footage, there'll be drawings, there'll be a lot of reports going back, to
that's cool.
To like 50s, and there's even more. There's even more because I've got some old books going back with reports and what have you, and I'm thinking about putting all those reports and stuff, up on it as well.
Oh yeah, that'd be really cool.
So those are reports, and going back to 1950 when it all started.
Wow, awesome. Well, I'm definitely going to go check it out, and I hope everybody else out there does too. So, but
thank you very much, Patrick. Thank you.
Yeah,
and it's been great on your show. I've really enjoyed it. I'm sorry it took us a bit of time getting sorted out.
Heck yeah. Well, we'll talk again. This ain't going to be the last time we talk. But I sure appreciate you coming on, Russ. And everybody out there, me and my buddy Dirty over there, my producer, want to thank Russ a whole lot. And everybody, keep it
creepy.
Yeah. Out in the woods where the shadows creep, I'm trying to find the legend that the people keep. Bigfoot's the name, got a story to tell. Footprints in the mud, can't you hear the bell? Whispers in the night, can you feel that chill? Bigfoot on the run, he's a legend, keep it real. Bigfoot, yeah, he's the talk of the town. Creeping through the trees, never wearing a frown. Legend of the forest, he's got a big stride. As the trap beats thump, you know he's got pride. Like I'm on a quest, searching for the homie, you know he's the best. Got my camera ready, heightened senses on blast. Snap a shot of Sasquatch, legend unsurpassed. Eyes in the dark, you can't catch what you can't see. King of the woods, living wild and free. Bigfoot, yeah, he's the talk of the town. Creeping through the trees, never wearing a frown. Legend of the forest, he's got a big stride. As the trap beats thump, you know he's got pride.